it!
Welcome or welcome back, gorgeous people. Okay, so I started with inspecting the dress to understand the design better, as always, so that I can decide on materials as well. A while back, I found this Barbie Basics doll, and as soon as I read what the previous owner wrote on one of her legs, I instantly knew whom I'd turn her into. Can you see what's written? Yeah, savage. Perfect, you know. It's written with Sharpie or highlighter. It's funny and convincing that this is a good choice for Odile. Also, I think the pose is great for her since she has appeared multiple times in the movie standing in this pose. So, yeah. Now I'll do the same head cut method that I used for Rothbart, and then, you know, just wires, foam clay, let it dry, and while it dries, I'll prepare and work with the fabrics. For the fabrics, I have the same maroon satin and this black flowy fabric. I've made the patterns and cut the shapes roughly since I have to dye the satin a bit darker. For the middle blue panel, I'll be embroidering it, so I'm placing organza at the back with the help of water-soluble fabric, my favorite. I'm dyeing the fabric with a thin wash of acrylic paint, and I'll let it dry on a solid surface. Time for the face sculpt. The armature is ready. I put it back on the body just so I can work on it a little bit easily. Now I'll be using cold porcelain just like before, and dreadfully so. This is probably going to be the last time I'm using this for a doll face, since this time it was so difficult for me to achieve a normal looking sculpt. It was because this clay gives such little time to work as it starts drying from the surface, and if something has to be added or corrected, you just have to first pull out the dry surface, reapply the clay. Imagine the hassle. And all this has to be done in one sitting without any break, because adding to the totally dry clay is almost impossible if you want to achieve a nicer, smoother looking surface on your sculpt. I can sand it after it's dried out, but still, after I painted, the irregularities on the surface just appear again, and you know, my perfectionist brain starts to hammer my choices. So, you know, this is the last time cold porcelain for the faces, so bye hun. Actually, I discarded the sculpture that I filmed and redid the whole thing all over again off camera. That's kind of when I decided to not do this again. This is like my third time sculpting a face with this clay, and now I've learned enough to move on to another medium happily. A medium that'll be more forgiving, you know. Thankfully, the face is finished. Let's just say I'm not super happy about it, but you know, for all the effort that went into this, let's just move on for the rest of her stuff. Now I'm gonna work on the middle panel of the bodice. I have these two-toned threads. I'll embroider the middle piece with these by hand. I used one shade of blue overall, then I added the lighter blue just a little bit for some variation. For the top gold piece, I'll use cut pipe beads, gold coiled wire for the mid and the edges, and some golden acrylic paint for the sides. For the feathery things on her shoulders that stick up, I'm using this golden fabric. I'll put a thin wire in the middle of 2 layers of this fabric and glue them together so they are able to be bent in whatever direction. Then I'll just paint over them with gold acrylic paint to match this golden armor thingy. I will embroider the high neck pieces as well with the same two-toned thread and sew it onto the golden piece. Now I'm sewing the bodice pieces together, and the silhouette that she has is very more Trisha Adams, and I actually made it a little more, emphasized. Her skirt wasn't that more Trisha, but still I just, I wanted it to look a little bit like her more, because in the movie it does look like that, but then in different angles it doesn't. So but I wanted mine to look like that, so I just sewed it like that. Time to finish this gold armor thing. I'm hand sewing these pieces together because it has beads. I'll also hand sew the high neck pieces to it as well. I thought I'd glue the edges inwards and be done with it, but it looked unfinished, so I put the gold coiled wire on the edges with some glue to give it a finished and clean look. I also attach the feathers with glue. And voila, your gold crow piece is done. I will prep the face with 1 layer of gesso. At this point, I was really like, I want to discard this because the perfectionist in me was screaming that I don't entirely like this face sculpt, But I had to hold my composure there because I worked a lot on this, so. This is when I actually decided that this is the last time for this material, Bye, cold person. I'm hating on you so much, but you deserve it for this. You deserve it. Anyhow, the face up went as usual. I used a 3H pencil to draw her eyes. Then I used some semi-thin layers of acrylic paint, paints to paint her eyes and lips. The eyes are bigger for the first time, and it felt unusual but kind of cool. I'm thinking of including a comment under this video and each video from now on which you guys can vote for one or the other option that I will write, and whichever option would have more votes, it can be 1 or 2, whatever, I'll go with that for the next video. For the hair, I used silk embroidery thread. I opened each strand, straightened it, and it almost looks like yarn, but just a moisturized version of yarn. Then I glued the hair directly on her head and let it dry overnight. The next morning, I styled her hair with a curling iron and some styling spray. When she wasn't styled though, she was looking kind of funny. So yes, if you've made it this far in the video, share your thoughts in the comments if you can about Odile, the process, the end result. And thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in my next one. The one for which probably you guys will be voting. So yeah, peace.